everybody, welcome to What's Up with Pastor Chuck. I'm super excited, honestly. How many times do I say that? But I mean it. And actually, every time I mean it. But today I really mean it because I have two amazing guests with me. And we're going to talk about a subject that I believe is really cool subject. We're going to talk about is if you're an introvert, how can you lead at high and effective levels? How can you make a bigger impact? How can you allow yourself, without changing who you are, to take the strength of who you are and go out and make a difference, especially in the cause of Christ where you show leadership? And I have two, I think, world changers with me today. One is Manuel, who is one of our worship leaders, but also she's one of our head of creative arts, oversees huge parts of our next gen ministry, raises up an incredible number of people to use their gifts in amazing ways. And that's why we're so blessed here, because of her ability to grab people and energize them and get them going. And so, Laura, I'm super excited you're here.
Thanks, Pastor Chuck. I'm excited to be here.
I love it. And then also, Tracy Taouil's here. Tracy is an executive assistant, and she actually works for me. But Tracy comes to us out of the Wyndham organization, where she was a high-level leader there. And she was willing to come and help us, which I still can't get over how blessed we are to have you. And Tracy leads out in amazing ways, too. She leads a big part of our Kenya ministry, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. She also does leadership in one of the most important things Crossroads does, which is our Boldly Bless initiative, where we change people's lives by banding together. And I had a dream of this being an amazing ministry. Tracy took it up like 10 notches because of her leadership ability. So I am so excited to have you guys here. Tracy, good to have you.
Well, excited to be here on camera.
On camera, yeah. So, okay, you guys are both introverts, and by the way, I think this is really important to note. Bill Gates is an introvert, but he's a high-level leader. Warren Buffett is an introvert. He's a high-level leader. And are you ready for this? Abraham Lincoln was highly introverted, and I think we'd say he was a pretty good leader too. So, but who do you guys think in the Bible was an introvert?
We were actually talking about this earlier. Mm-hmm. So we think Moses was an introvert because he was often telling God, "Who am I?"
Yeah.
And he even talks about having like some type of speech impediment or something like that. And I kind of relate to that sometimes, because sometimes the things that are coming out of my mouth don't make a whole lot of sense. So, we think Moses.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would say Moses too. Even when preparing for this, I was like, I feel like Moses, where he's like, God, I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
And God's like, no, you're going to do this, and it's going to be great. Don't worry. But for sure, I would say Moses too.
So are there lots of times that I have you do stuff you don't want to do?
I would say there are a lot of times you ask me to do something and I tell God, are you sure?
Okay, there you go. Okay, good. I by the way, I like to stretch people. I think that's what and I don't do it to be mean. I do it because I love to watch people grow. Kind of interesting, the statistics. In the United States, 60% of people are identified as an extrovert, 40% as an introvert. In the world, 57.7% of people are identified as introverts. So in the United States, there seems to be maybe this self-made pressure to force people into maybe extroversion. But I think that's interesting. You guys are gonna love this one. Get ready. This is really cool. Of gifted children, 60% are introverts. So people who are introverted tend to be more intellectually astute, which I think is kind of fun to know. And that's because all of us extroverts don't want to take the test. So how would you identify yourself as an introvert? Well, how would that specific identity come to you?
I would probably identify more as a social introvert. So I definitely gain a lot of energy through times alone, but I also gain energy through times with like very close friends, very close people to me. So, I would say that I'm a social introvert. Yeah.
Me too. I would say I love, we were even talking about quarantine. Like I enjoyed quarantine last year just because I got to be alone, but I also got to be just with my close circle of friends. And I thrive under that. I think if you put me out to meet new people, it's not in my comfort zone. I wouldn't want to do that. But I love having my close group and then being by myself.
Yeah, and probably it'd be worth stopping for a moment and actually defining what extrovert and introvert means, because extrovert means you get your energy from being around people, and introvert means you get your energy when you're mainly on your own. Or, by the way, this is really interesting. You guys usually tend to draw a circle of people who can fit in your isolation moment,
Yeah.
and they don't drain you. So yeah, that would be really, really true. So it's really about where do you get your energy from, not do you love people or not love people, because you guys both love people.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. I was watching, I don't know how to say his name, Simon Sinek, I'm not sure, but he was saying the introvert wakes up with 5 coins, and at every social interaction they give a coin. And the extrovert wakes up with no coins, and at every social interaction they gain a coin. So the extrovert at the end of the day feels rich and full, and the introvert feels a little bit depleted and spent, exactly. So that's a good example of.
That's a really good example, because we were already talking about this ahead of time. My wife Pam is an introvert, and she wakes up in the morning and I take all her coins.
Oh no, poor Pammy.
I think that's probably too true, and yours too. Yeah, because I usually come in like gangbusters with all these ideas and stuff like that.
That's amazing.
So that's just kind of fun. So what do you think are some of the strengths of being an introvert as a leader, especially?
Yeah. I think something that Tracy and I were talking about, one of the strengths of like being an introvert is being self-aware. I think because we are often reserved and like reflecting on what's going on internally, we're just very aware of, you know, how is my interaction right now, what's going on around me. We're kind of looking into others. We're what is the word, analyzing others too. So I think although it can be a fault, I think it can also play as a huge strength.
Yeah, we were talking too, it's, again, with not spending too many of our coins, like being in a large interaction can be super draining. But a strength would be like being able to pull people in on one-on-ones and being able to talk. And there's an intentionality in saying, hey, let's talk about this, me and you, or in a small group, and getting to the deeper thing than trying to address a big group at once. And so that would be a strength too.
Yeah, you know what's so interesting, Laura, you brought up, and Tracy, you too, but Laura, you brought up the idea of the analytical part. I cannot tell you the number of times I've been in a meeting and Tracy's been in that meeting with me, which I almost always want to have, because I feel like her strengths are so good. And then when it's over, I'll have one perspective, and she'll go, "Oh, that is not what happened," and she'll begin to share. Well, did you see their body language? Did you hear their tone of voice? Did you hear? And kind of a hidden phrase here or there. And I'm going, "No way! They were like evil." No, I'm kidding. That's not what it was. But if I didn't have Tracy, I think I would be so off in my perspective of what really occurred. And not able to help people like sometimes I want to. So, but I think that is that introverted part of you guys that is able to go, no, I can see a little bit deeper is how I would even see it. You know, and then you're self-aware, but you're also others aware. Would you think that's true?
Oh, totally. And I think, again, a strength and maybe a weakness is that we can be soft-spoken, but it's because we want to stop and just take in what's happening around us. And like Laura said, we internalize, we observe, we analyze, and we're constantly wondering, okay, what's happening and why is it happening? And then being able to share it afterwards in a debrief is really great.
Yes. I think another strength can be just being a good listener. I'm only saying that because Tracy's really good. She will be in a meeting, and you know, there's people that they're just not mentally there, but there's people that are mentally there. They're just listening. You know, they're soaking in everything. And I think being a good listener provides like a safe place for those that you're leading, because they feel like, oh, I'm going to be heard, you know, or I'm going to be listened to, you know. So I think that is something that Tracy has that I admire. I think as I have grown, because I was way more of an introvert when I first started in leadership, and I think now I'm a little bit breaking out of that, and with that comes I talk a little bit more now. So, yeah, I admire that in you, Tracy.
No, but to you too. I mean, we're going to go back and forth.
Oh, yeah.
You're cute. Your hair's cute. No, yeah, that's good.
No, but I would say this, Laura, because I've watched you grow in your leadership, And it is true. I remember when you first would come into meetings I was running or a part of, I would draw it out of you. I'd have to go, okay, let's stop here. What is Laura thinking? Do you remember that? How I would do that. Now, you actually still are very, very thoughtful and very self-aware. But we were in a meeting the other day where all of us were like going a mile a minute on this idea, and you kind of almost called a timeout and said, well, and it changed everything because you brought a lot of insight. You called for us to really think deeper. And in that moment, I was like, oh my gosh, that was amazing leadership that you showed.
Thanks, Jack.
So, and by the way, all of you are going to benefit from what she did. It's going to come on Easter. So when Easter happens, it's going to be so much better. So, but what do you think are some of the weaknesses, though, when you're an introvert and trying to be in leadership?
You take it.
Yeah, I would say a weakness would be, again, because we are often soft-spoken, I think that we can be misunderstood and even come across standoffish. So we're probably not that easy to get to know because we keep our circles pretty small, or at least I do. I keep my circle pretty small. And so while we love people and we would be even considered friendly, it's not like it's easy to get to know us.
Yes, and I think also blending in with the crowd. I feel like that was feedback I heard a lot when I was younger was, what do you have to say? Like, you're in those meetings, we asked you to be in those meetings, like we want you to say something, you're just sitting there, and I have something to say, but it's just, it's easier for me to retrieve,
Oh, yeah.
So,
Same.
yeah. Wait, retrieve? No.
Retreat.
Sorry.
Yeah, retreat. Yeah.
Retreat.
So, what do you think, though, when you look at, because you're around extroverts who lead here. So, what do you think is the difference in how you guys lead as introverts and how an extrovert leads?
That's good.
Who's like a really big extrovert?
Chuck.
Okay, you go. You take this one. How's it like working with Chuck?
Yeah. Oh, it's a dream.
Okay, I'm going to keep this one for sure.
But I would say, I even pull extroverts into my circle because I need an extrovert with me to pull me out of my comfort zone. But I would say that extroverts typically are big personalities. They're charismatic and they lead more aggressively than an introvert would. I think that I take more time to pause and ponder, and I would even go more directly to one or two people that I'm leading and have them empower them to maybe speak out in certain ways rather than me just do it on my own.
Yeah, I definitely play off of the strengths of an extrovert. Like, we have Lauren in the room. I feel like Lauren gets a shout out every time you have a podcast.
That's right. Yes.
Pastor Noah just called her a ninja because I don't really know what a ninja has to do with it, but I imagine she's going around like whipping people on her team, like she's just constantly like meeting new people, like you said on your last podcast, like being a connector. And someone like would be like John Allen too, this guy's like big and loud, like in his personality. So I want to make sure that on my team everybody knows that they are welcome. So I don't want a bunch of introverts, otherwise you're not going to have worship on a Sunday, So you want to make sure you have a good mix, so you play off of the strengths of those that do have that, and you let them speak up, speak out, and you kind of just work together on that.
Yeah. So one of the things I'm hearing you both say is that when you're in leadership moments, and we love when you get to do that here, and I think both of you have done really, really well. But you also know you need to look for other people to compliment you. That's what you're saying?
Oh yeah,
That's
absolutely.
Good. Yep, that's good.
Yeah, I'm going to quote you, but you had talked about being a leader doesn't mean that you're good at everything, but it means that you know what you're good at and you know what you're not good at, and you bring people to compliment your weaknesses. And I would say that's something really that all leaders should do, but especially if you're an introvert, you understand what you're not good at and then bring someone in to compliment that.
Yes.
Yeah, so like in Kenya, talk about what you did in Kenya.
Oh, yeah. So I love Kenya. I love going to Kenya, but I get to co-lead that team with Ernie, and I rely on Ernie so much because he, for sure, I think has more of a bigger personality. And when trying to get our team to focus or our team to, stop what they're doing and listen, that would not be in my gifting. I think I'm too soft-spoken for that, and people typically won't stop to listen to what I'm going to say. But Ernie, man, I just tell Ernie, hey, we really need to, get everyone to pay attention, and he just has to say a word, word and they just snap to attention. But that would be for sure his gifting and his strength and wheelhouse.
Yay, that's good.
Yeah, one of the things about that is by the way, I forgot which night it is, but one of our Wednesday nights we had Ernie on, one of our Wednesday night watch parties. He's a big ex-Marine. Who's kind of still a Marine. But the thing is, he shows such respect to you and your leadership. So he definitely leads and leads with strength, but he also it looks to you and has really, I think, made you a better leader by the way he looks to your leadership.
Oh, 100%. And I would say that Ernie can come across can be intimidating. And so one of the strengths that I would say I have is being able to connect with our team more on a one-on-one basis, but they'll constantly come to me in country needing something specific or having something that they want to share. And so I'll get an opportunity to meet with them personally because, and again, there's just a compliment to Ernie and mine and our strengths and weaknesses that he can command more of the larger crowd where I get to do more of the one-on-ones.
Yeah. That's good.
Yeah, and then Laura, for you, one of the things I see happen so often, and I told you this, so it's not going to be a surprise, is there are times that you actually give people the opportunity to lead, and then and you continually do that, and you never feel like you have to have the spotlight. You don't feel like, hey, wait a minute, no one's noticing me. Like I never feel like, oh my gosh, I got to go over and make sure Laura's okay, because you're always concerned that your teams are okay, and so you're lifting people up that way. So when you are doing leadership, do you feel like you're looking for that moment to give them that opportunity to get them out there?
Oh yeah, I mean, like I said earlier, I only got 5 coins, so I'm like, I gotta make them last as long as they can. So I can't take every opportunity, otherwise I'm gonna be drained, and I won't have a team in the long run. It's about longevity. You want to make sure that you have people when one day you can't do it anymore. So. Yeah, I love getting other people to, especially when they're working in their wheelhouse of strength. I'm like, oh, you're so good at that. You do it. You do that because it's going to be way better than what I can do, so that I can focus on whatever else,
Yeah. And you do a really great job of celebrating them when they do go out there.
Yeah.
It's been really cool to see people that you've brought up leading out and having you celebrate them. It's just awesome.
Thanks.
And both of you two have something about you guys, and I think it is part of your introverted leadership in a good way, that people get very loyal to you. I mean, I watch your teams. People become very, very loyal. And there's never a question, Laura, when I've watched you in leadership that anybody questioned if you're the leader.
Yeah.
Like I haven't ever seen that happen once. And Tracy, on Kenya or even on Boldly Blessed, you have just had an ability to have people look to you for leadership. So I think it's because you care so much about the people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would even say at Crossroads, me and Laura were talking about this earlier, it's really great because just as a church, as an organization, I think we do a great job of empowering people. Yeah. And when they see leadership, recognize other leadership, people are bound to do the same. And so I think that, for Pastor Chuck, you to tell people that I'm in charge of this, there's a recognition that happens as well. But we do that within our ministries all over, where someone's called to leadership, it's being recognized, and so people follow suit with that too. And so that's a strength as an organization.
That's good.
And it's one of my dreams here, because just like you guys said, I love seeing people flourish and get out there and use their gifts and grow. And then I like to see them take their next step.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. What would you say to other leaders who happen to be introvert or other introverts who haven't discovered their leadership? What would you say to them?
That's really good. I would say come out of your comfort zone. Like, don't be afraid to. Although you have great strengths as an introvert, there are areas that you can definitely grow in that will only make your leadership better. So take every scary task as an opportunity for growth. And so if you have an opportunity to lead a 3-person meeting, just do it, or if, you have an opportunity. For me, I just preached at SIA, and I did it like last year for HSM, and I'm cringing the whole time as I'm doing it. I'm like, I hate this. I don't want to do this. But I'm like, but I feel like God has given me a word. I want to share it, and Noah wants me to share it, so I guess I'm going to do it. And I walked away going, man, I think I got a little bit better, like as a person, just by challenging myself. I'm not gonna be the senior pastor now, but hey, now I'm afraid, or I'm okay to know that, like, I can speak and people will listen, and so I would say, like, speak up, you know, know, like, you know that you have something to say, you know, and people are willing to listen. So don't retreat.
Yes.
By the way, it was an amazing message. I told you that afterwards, and I was so impressed with your use of scripture. I was so impressed with how articulate you are, which I actually knew because you're a songwriter, but how you were and how you touch people's emotions, but pointed them to God in such a clear way.
Thanks,
and so I was really impressed. I think we all were. So that scary moment turned into something awesome.
Yeah, and then you get people that encourage you, and you're like, wow, that wasn't the worst thing in the world. You know? So
And people benefited from it, which is great. Yeah, like we were talking earlier, and it's if you are an introvert, I think that you feel like you're not qualified to lead because you typically only see people that are extroverts,
right?
You know, on the big screen or whatever it is, and so you won't feel like you're qualified. And I think that the advice to give would be, like, God is going to qualify you, right? So the cliche, God qualifies the called or whatever. But
if he calls you to it, he'll call you through it. We love those cliches so much.
But it just goes back to the Moses thing. I mean, Moses didn't want to do it, and he told God, like, are you sure you want me to do this? And God's like, yeah, like, I got you, go ahead. And so I think that if you're introverted, like, and you're being called to leadership, you are qualified. And there's so many different types of leaders out there, but your strengths are what's needed for what you're being called to do. And that's important to not shy away from because it's uncomfortable.
Yes.
Yeah, then Laura brought up the need for courage. I have watched you have to go into what I would consider some very intense situations, and you have stepped up. Like, is it hard? Like, did you have to really get the courage, you know, in those moments?
Yeah, and Laura brought this up earlier too. You just kind of have to, what was the phrase you used?
Mentally prepare?
Mentally prepare and like, just do it. Like Nike, just do it. I think that we can, I have a tendency to overanalyze, and I talk myself out of something before I even get a chance to do it. But there are times where, like, there's no formula to follow, and so you just kind of have to go and see what happens. And I think God surprises me all the time with what he makes out of a situation. But yeah, there are often times I'm walking in like, let's see what happens. And God is always incredible in what the fruit that comes out of something like that.
Yeah, and I have honestly learned in a good way not to get in your way, like to let you take it, to let you handle it, because you've done so, great in those moments. And just to be honest, you probably know there's a tendency on my part to go, no, I'm going to protect Tracy, but I can't do that and let you be you, and let you do the kind of leadership that I want to see you do. So, all right. So, what advice would you give extroverts? All of us who are extroverted leaders. Lauren's an extrovert. We're about to get advice. Marlon is an introvert, and so he may chime in. Okay.
I would say, again, I don't know if this is out of your guys' comfort zone, but I guess, what did I say earlier? I said shut up, but I meant
She did. Okay, you got to hear this. So, because they're introverts, they want to prepare more than we normally get to prepare. And so I asked that question, what would you say to an extrovert? And Laura did say, shut up.
I'm kidding. No, but give the introvert the floor, if you will, because like I said, for the most part, they have something to say, and I think it's not our instinct to, like, chime in. So, I think.
And Chuck, you did that with Laura when she first started, right? Pausing to notice, okay, this person isn't saying much. Let me pause and ask them directly. And so even just recognizing who's on your team and who's saying what, being able to stop and draw it out of them and creating a safe space. Because I know for me, I'm very comfortable sharing my ideas with you, and you create a very safe space for that. But I might not be super comfortable in other settings, but being able to know your team and creating that safe space.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, I want to say that I really do think this is an important topic, especially when I start looking at younger people who are more introverted, and if someone's not pouring into them, if someone's not seeing their giftedness and looking to allow them to really become and blossom into being who they are, I think there's a danger, because I think our society has almost got this taintedness about introversion. So it's like, oh no, you're always going to be a follower.
Right.
And like we've said, that's not the case. I meet with a group of about 20 pastors who are leading some of the best churches in the country. 50% of us are extrovert and 50% are introverts. And so the one thing I've noticed though within my friends is this. I'm going to ask you another question that's not on the list, so get ready. Oh, I'm going to throw you the curveball. The ones who are introverts tend to, at times, because of the leadership, have to make sure they don't go into a place of depression. Do you ever feel that happens? I'm totally asking because I don't know. Would you ever feel like you got to be careful not to let that occur because of the strains of leadership?
I think because we tend to overanalyze and be very aware of ourselves and what's happening, that we add an extra burden to what we're doing that maybe extroverts don't deal with. And so I feel like there's a constant weight on my shoulders in the areas that I lead. Am I not doing it good enough, or am I messing up, or what's happening? And so by adding that, I can bring myself down, and I have to, which is why it's so important to have people on your team that can recognize that even in you and speak life into you when you're not speaking life into yourself.
Yeah. And I think, you know, at times when I am going down that road, it's because I haven't spoken up. And so I feel like, oh, I'm just misunderstood, or I don't ever say like no one values my opinion. It's just like I have so many of them. They're just inside. And so I'm like, so you have to make sure, like, that's why for the extroverted leader, like, create that safe space for your introverted person that you're leading, so that they can speak up. Otherwise they do. I get into that dark place of just, I have so many thoughts about this situation, but I don't know how to get them out, you know? So
And as a leader, maybe for someone who's not able to, like, no one above you to create a safe space, there's almost this an accountability where, like, okay, I know that I have a tendency to do this. Let me make sure I'm checking in with someone, and almost like a mental health check. Like, okay, let's check and say, am I blowing this out of proportion, or do I need to bring it down? Because I have several people on staff that I can do that with. I'm like, okay, I need to talk real talk right now. Like, am I crazy or not?
I am constantly having am I crazy talks with Fred. And sometimes I am crazy. So, so you just need to hear it.
Yeah, that's true. Well, I appreciate you guys so much, and I really do. I value you. I respect you. I think you guys are amazing leaders. I watch how God's used you over this last year during the COVID crisis, and Crossroads, I think, is a better church today, but in big part because of both of you and the leadership you've shown, the kind of wisdom you've given. I probably don't have to say it, because I hope you know it's true, how much I value both of your opinions and your wisdom and where you come from as fellow leaders, as someone I can respect. So we're blessed to have both of you.
Thanks, Chuck. We're blessed to be here.
Yeah.
Thanks for having us.
All right. So anyway, this has been a fun time talking about leadership. We are going to do this another time, one more week on leadership. Then we're going to shift into relationships. And I want to talk about how to have better relationships, deeper relationships. Next week's podcast on leadership is kind of a great bridge to relationship, because we're going to talk about emotional intelligence. And if you have a choice of EQ or IQ, EQ always wins. We know that, by the way, from research, that people with high EQ tend to be very, very successful in life. And so we're going to talk about that next week with someone I think is very emotionally intelligent, Pastor Galen Thomas, who's one of my executive pastor. And so I can't wait for you to hear from him. And then the following week, we kick off relationships, and Lauren gets to come in front of the camera. And so we're going to talk about relationships, and we're also going to hear, she promised she would sing, which is such a blessing. And so she'll sing a song about relationships. Marlon, are you excited? Oh, he's excited. You guys excited?
Yes.
Yeah, I am too. So anyway, hey, thanks again for being here, you guys. Thanks for listening. And you know what? If you haven't hit subscribe yet, hit subscribe. If you didn't hit like yet, with these two guys, you got to hit like today, okay? So anyway, take care. God bless you, and we'll see you soon.